to subscribe to my channel.
Hi everybody, hope you're doing well. Today I wanted to show you guys how to use this cool website that I love to use for my Python applications, same as my web development applications, and I love to use this for my web applications as well. It's really nice when somebody else gets to build a database for us with all this cool information that we just simply don't have access to, and we can use that information and put it into our applications. So I would like you to come to this cool website, and specifically this link, and I'll include this in the description. This is called rapidapi.com. This is a wonderful place to go. We're specifically going to look at the Open Weather Map API. You can see all these endpoints. So these endpoints specifically, I want to get a 5-day, 3-hour forecast data. That's going to be very useful. If I click on this, and then over here we've got some little code snippets that we can use. Of course, we're going to be using Python in our case, and I'm just going to say request. Now we can test these endpoints, but at first it's not going to let us. You do need to sign up. It is a free account, but if you do go into there, you'll sign up and it'll actually ask you to subscribe to this specific API. Now there is a free subscription, of course. Each API will have its limits, like you can have 500 requests per day. If we're just doing this for fun and not doing this as a application that we're going to put on the App Store or anything, it's not going to cost us anything. If you do go over that limit, typically it's going to cost you 0.0019 cents or something like that, but nothing to worry about. Once you subscribe and put in your card information, again, it shouldn't charge you anything unless you go over their limit, but it will tell you exactly what the limits are. I've used this for a couple years and I've never been charged anything, which is nice. Once you're subscribed to your API, you can come over here to test endpoints, and once you do, it will tell you some of these items. And so if you test that endpoint, I'm going to make sure I'm selected on the 5-day, 3-hour forecast data. Test my endpoint here, and here's the endpoint. Down here, it's showing the city and the country, so I can even put in something like Chicago, US, and then I can test that endpoint and it'll show me something else over here. This is showing me the API data. If you're a little bit familiar with Python already, you can see that this is actually a dictionary. There's this wiggly brace, and here's the key and the value, the key and the value, the key and the value. Then we've got a list here with more objects inside, or dictionaries, right? We can just look at some of this. So it's got main, which has like the temperatures. It's got like the air pressure, sea level, humidity. In this next dictionary, we've got other weather data, such as are there clouds? It says what type of clouds, like broken clouds. And if you're using this for web development, it will even give you the icon ID so that it will automatically bring up an icon for broken clouds, which is pretty cool. It even shows you the wind, like the speed, the gust, and everything. So we'll use some of this data in our application. Once you find the endpoint data that you like, we're going to go ahead and take that. I'm going to make sure that this is Python, and I'm going to hit request here. If I can click it. Perfect. So click on request, and this is the code you're actually going to be copying and pasting right into your Python. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to head over to my IDE here, and I'm actually going to be using PyCharm today. I like to use different IDEs to show you that we can do this in anything that we want, and I'm just going to paste it right into here. Okay, and right now it's going to say request has that red squiggly line, just letting us know that it doesn't know what we're talking about. It doesn't know what requests are, so we're going to have to actually install that. It's very easy. I'm just going to take my cursor, come down here into terminal, and I'm going to say pip install requests, and depending on your internet speed, that should download pretty quickly. And that should work now. So if we just hit run, see what happens, you can see that we have this huge dictionary here, and there's a list, and it actually goes on for a very long time. This is actually returning this as a string because it has a response.text. And so I don't want this to be a text. I don't want it just to be one long string. I actually want this to be a dictionary. So I'm going to use a library called AST, and this is actually going to convert a string into a dictionary. So I can get this temperature or the clouds or the wind or anything like that, because it's just text right now. So I do need to convert that, and it's just because that's the way that they built the third-party API, right? So we don't really have a choice. It's their data, this is how they do it. So I'm going to actually take out this print statement that they originally gave us. They're saying this response, but they're putting it into a string by saying text, and that's fine. I actually want to take that text and use AST for that. So I'm going to create a new variable called text response, and I'm just going to set that equal to AST dot literal eval, and this takes in a node or string. You see in the autocomplete there, and so I'm going to put in that string which they gave us before, which was just simply response dot text. So let's just run this and see what it gives us when we print out the text response now, and I will run that. Okay, and so you can see that it looks the same, but let's print the type of this. There's this cool little tool that we can use, this function called type. This will just return the data type of this. So let's see if it says string or dictionary. Cool, it says dictionary. When I had just that response.text, so if I put response.text in here and then hit run, let's see what that was giving us before. See, you can see it was a string, and again, I can't query that. So this is going to be really nice. I can use that text response as my actual dictionary, and this will help us a lot. And now you can see that over here up at the top, it says that we have this query string that they gave us. They set it to a city and then the country. I'm just going to hard code the country, and I am going to allow the user to type in whatever city that they want. So I'm going to use string interpolation so that we can use some Python code in here, and I'm just going to call this city. Before it gets there, I'm going to ask for the user's input. For now, I'm not going to get the user's input. I'm just going to hard code a city, and then I'll add the input later. So city equals, yeah, we could say Chicago again, and hopefully that will still work. So I'm going to hit run. After I print this, I'm going to hit run, print the text response, and there you go. So you can see it has that temperature of 295. Let's change that city to something like Nashville, and then I'll hit run, and you can see that that temperature is changing. So that's working really nicely. You can see that this was, again, a very long dictionary, but I don't want all this information. I only want certain pieces of information, right? I'm going to create my own dictionary. I'm going to call the keys whatever I want, like temperature or the sky status or feels like or the humidity, whatever I want. And then I'm going to store some of these into my own dictionary so I can organize it the way I want. So I'm going to come down here, instead of printing this response, I'm going to call my dictionary data, and that's what a dictionary looks like. If you don't know what a dictionary is, it's a lot like a list. So we've used lists lots before in my videos, but a dictionary, instead of having one item per comma like a list does, it has 2 items per comma. The first one is going to be called the key, and then the next one is going to be some kind of value, whether it's a string or a number, and that's what it looks like. And then you have your comma, and then you write your next item. So the first thing that we're going to do, I want it to just print the sky. So I'm just gonna call this sky. You can call this whatever you want. I want to find wherever the sky is inside of here. Now, this is really, really big, and I don't know where to even start. It's really hard to read this. So I'm actually going to hop back to the API. Here's the API, and let's see what the results are. I'm going to close that. I'm going to come to list, because I know that's what it's stored in. I looked at this before, and sometimes this takes a little bit of studying first before you actually get into it. I don't know this off the top of my head automatically. I know it's at index 0 here, and if you look into here, it's got main, weather, clouds, wind. So let's look at main. It's got the temperature and stuff. I think we'll do that after. And so it is going to be inside of this weather. Weather has a list. So I need to access, looks like index 0. And then it's going to be this description here. It says that there's broken clouds And so that's going to be the description. So it might say like clear sky, it might say rainy, it might say broken clouds. And so we want to grab this item and I want that to stick that in my sky. And so let's try to store that. So I'm going to come here, and that is actually a lot of querying to do, so I don't want my dictionary to look super messy. So I'm going to create a couple variables to get the messy parts out of the way, and then we will have the simplified variables and stick that into our data. And so I'm going to call one main because of this main over here that says main, weather, and clouds. I think I'll do something similar. I think I'll do main, weather, and wind specifically. We'll say main equals the text response. And we saw that the text response was a dictionary, and we want to find the key of list. If we want to query list, if you remember from my previous videos, you just do the @ symbol with the square brackets, and I'm going to say list because that's what it's called. Inside of list, we've got a list, and I want index 0 because that's where this information is. I'm going to say list at 0. Let's just print out that main so far and see what it's giving us. Print main. So it is accessing some of that data. And you can see it's a whole lot shorter now, which is really nice. So I've got all that. And so now that I'm inside of that list, I want to get into main, which is called main. And now I'll run it. Now it's just got this information. So that's perfect. I want to keep this as my main. And now I'm going to do the same thing with weather and wind. And I'll just fast forward through this part so you don't get bored with it. But I'm just going to take the same exact steps as I did to get this main. And so I will just go ahead and do this for you. Okay, welcome back. I just did that same thing for weather and for wind. So if I test out weather just to make sure it works, let's print weather. And here it is. So it says clear sky. It's got the icon, looks beautiful. And then I'll test the wind, hit run, and looking good. So it's got the wind speed, degrees, and the gust of wind, which is pretty cool. So that's looking really nice. Now that we know that these are working, we don't have to type all this messy data every single time now. We've already got that out of the way. Now I want to grab my sky status, which is inside my main. We don't need this, but I want to print instead my data dictionary, and specifically I want to print out whatever the value is of sky. And so I want to grab that sky, which is actually stored inside of weather. And so I'm going to say weather, and let's run that and let's see what that gives us. Here's the description right here. So this says clear. I like it to say clear sky. So I need to grab this, which is called description. But first, I noticed that this is a list instead of a dictionary. So when we want to query a list, we need to use indexing of numbers. So that's at index 0. Now we're inside of this dictionary, and what key do I want? I want this description. So I'm going to say the description. So now when I print my data at sky, it says clear sky. So congrats if you got that to work as well. Let's keep going. I want to grab my wind. So don't forget your comma at the end of your skyline. And I'm going to say wind speed. Wind speed is going to be wind. And let's just print, instead of sky, let's print the wind speed. And let's see what it gives us. So it gives us that entire dictionary. So it's got the speed, degrees, and the gust. And for the wind speed, I specifically want the speed. That's what it's called. So I'll call this speed. See what that gives us. Awesome. So it gives us that 3.55. I'm assuming that's miles per hour. So I'm just going to use string interpolation to stick that in there. Surround this with the squiggly braces. And then after this, oh, we can't use double quotes in there. I need to use single quotes because I'm using double quotes in the string. And then I need to say space mph for miles per hour. So let's see if that works. There you go. So 3.55 miles per hour. Okay, so that is looking good now. So I'm going to do a comma, and now I'm going to grab the wind gust. So I'm going to call this wind gust, and I am doing everything in lowercase. I usually do that so I can format it later with string functions. And I'm going to do the same thing. I think I will just copy this and paste it. Instead of speed, we want the gust, and let's see if that gives it to us. Oh, I gotta change this to gust. Perfect. So now it says 7 miles per hour. We have the sky, the wind speed, and the wind gust. So now let's grab our temperatures. And so the temperature, I believe, was inside of our main here. So here's our temperature. So it's just main at temp. Now it's a good thing that we already did this main. I'm going to actually put this in a different order. I think I want my wind to be one of the last things the user sees. So now I'm going to say temp for temperature, and that's going to be stored at main. Let's just test temp right now and see what it gives us. Okay, so it gives us our main, so we need to do main at temp because temp is right there. So I will call this temp. So this should give me that temperature. Now this is obviously not in degrees Fahrenheit. This is actually something called Kelvin. It's Kelvin. Okay, that's a scientific measurement for degrees, and we can actually convert that. We're going to have to, because I don't want my application to say it's 299 for temperature. It doesn't really make sense to most people. So we are going to create another function to handle that for us. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to call this function by saying def convert temp, and I just wanted to grab the temperature that we're going to send it later. And for now, let's just test this, make sure that it grabs the temperature. And in here, we are going to put this inside of a function called convert temp, right? Convert temp, and we want to send it this data, whatever that temperature was, and I want to print temp, which it is. So let's see what that gives us. Okay, so it did print it, but it returned nothing. So we do want this to return the temperature. There we go. You saw that it said none. Whenever it says none, it's because we're trying to print out the value of convert temp, but it has no value to it. That's why you need to say return instead of print. Let's go ahead and convert this. There is a mathematical equation that I researched to figure out how to convert all this into Fahrenheit, and so here it is. So the conversion will go inside of this new variable. Let's call this new temp. I don't want to call it Fahrenheit, so I don't have to spell Fahrenheit every single time. So it's going to be the temperature, whatever it receives, minus 273.15. And we actually want this to be done first, so I'm going to surround this by parentheses like this. And we need to multiply it by 9 divided by 5. And then we need to add, because this is Fahrenheit, we need to add 32. So let's see what that gives us. Oh, and we forgot to return it. So make sure you return the new temp. Let's see what that gives us. Perfect. So now it says 79.952000 degrees. So that's looking good so far, but we don't want all those numbers. So let's add in the round function. So I'm going to surround this entire thing with parentheses, and I'm going to round this entire thing, and I'll need a couple of these so I can round this to 2 decimals. Now let's run that, and now it says 79.56. So that's going to round it to 2 decimal places, which looks a whole lot better. So now I can use this for all my other temperatures. Let's do another one. We'll call this today's high, convert temp. And now we want to receive main at high, I think it's called. So let's try today's high, and it didn't find it. So let's double check, make sure. Oh, it's called temp max, not high. So we need to come in here and do temp max. Let's run that, and look, our function is now working for this one as well. So that's looking really nice. Now let's do today's low. Today's low, convert temp main at, I think it's temp min. Yes, temp min. So that's the minimum temperature of the day. So temp min, don't forget your comma there. and let's do today's low in our print statement, and we'll run it, and it says 75.27. So that's looking really good. I do want to actually have F for Fahrenheit and even the little degrees symbol, which I think would be really cool. So let's put these 3 functions inside of string so that we can use some string interpolation. I'll do this and surround it with squiggly braces and do the F for string interpolation, and then make sure that the inside of these are single quotes, otherwise it won't work, right? And then I'm going to do the degree sign. So if you don't know how to do the degree sign, it's actually really easy. If you're on Mac, you can just do Shift Option 8. So if I do Shift Option 8, you can see it has that degree sign symbol, and I put that in the wrong place. So let's grab this and put it on the outside of there. There we go. So now if I run temp, it has that degree symbol right there, which is really nice. And I'm just going to say F for Fahrenheit. I'm just going to copy this. So what I want you guys to do is just pause the video and do the same thing for these 2, and I'll just speed up the video and get this done for you. Okay, now that should be working just fine for you. So let's look at this, and we can test this by saying today's high. Let's see if that works now. Okay, so 74.98 degrees Fahrenheit. And then today's low, hopefully that works as well. Perfect, and it does. So I want these to all print out together. Now, it's not good practice to print all these just like this. I want to, instead of writing a whole clump of print statements, I want to create a for loop. So whenever you find yourself repeating code like that, we want to use a loop instead. And so we're going to delete that print statement, and we're going to have a more efficient way of printing out all these things. And so let's create a for loop. We can just do this in 2 lines of code. And if you don't remember the for loop, you can check out this video to kind of review on that for loop. So we're going to do for. Now we do have more than one value that we're trying to unpack into for this loop, right? And so we need to give it 2 variables instead of just 1. So I'm going to say key, comma, value inside of what? Data. I can't just say data. I need to say data.items, because there's 2 items in here. And so if we say .items, that tells our loop that, oh, this is a dictionary. So I need to unpack a key and a value and store that key over here and that value over here. Colon, and let's just print the key and let's see what it gives us. Awesome, so it says all the keys. So sky, temp, today's high, today's low, wind speed, and wind gust. And let's type in value. Let's see if it prints out all the values for us. And it does. Clear sky, 75, 75, 69 degrees, and the winds. Awesome. So let's use good old string interpolation. I know I use that a lot, but it's very helpful. I'm going to say key, and then outside of there, I'm going to do a colon space, and then value, and then I'm going to hit run. There you go. That's looking really nice. Now, I feel like we should do some formatting with this. So let's format these to be capitalized. So let's just do .title after key. So key.title. And if you don't remember what the function title does, it capitalizes every first letter of each word inside of your string. And so if I run that, you can see it has all that. So that's looking really good. Let's add into our dictionary here. Let's have one be city, and then we will do whatever that city was that we were storing up top, and let's see if that works. Yes, so that says Nashville, and we'll do city.title. Perfect. Now I want the user to choose a city. So instead of hard coding a city into here, let's cancel that, and we'll do a function. So we'll say input, and let's let the user know that it's time to now input something. Type in a city, new line, and let's see what happens. So if I hit run, it says type in a city. So let's do Houston. hit enter, and now it says Houston has light rain. Today's temperature right now is 84 degrees, today's high is 84, and today's low is 82. The wind speed 1.93 miles per hour, the wind gust of 4.39. So that's really working nicely, and it was quite fast. Now, if you're trying to test this and you're looking and you're comparing to like your iPhone, well, your iPhone uses weather.com, and there's a couple different weather stations out there. This might be a couple degrees off, or it might be right on, depending on the weather station. This weather station is typically different than like an iPhone or an Android's, so it might look a little bit off, but it will be within the same couple degrees or so. But that is it for this program. So that was a little bit more of a deep dive into APIs. If you have any questions or any requests for future videos, please let me know down into the comments, and I will love to take those suggestions. If you do like these videos, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to turn on that notification bell so that you know when I come out with a new tutorial, and I will see you guys next time. Happy coding.